Alright, so you may or may not already have heard, but Ban is basically gonna get a buff. The developers already made basically a dev update, even though it's not really a dev update, it's just a post saying, hey, we're gonna change the way that Ban works, we're gonna maybe change his skills, or the way that the skills work, or the way that his ultimate work, and stuff like that, just to sort of get him up to snuff with sort of the rest of the, well, basically Grand Festival characters, right? You're the one Escanors, your Purgatory Meliodas, and even Mael. Now, of course, I was gonna post this earlier when I actually saw it, but I already had a video recorded and already uploaded, and I was just gonna, you know, release it, and it was about that time, and I didn't want to release two videos at the same time, so I thought, you know what, I'll just sit on this information for just a little bit, sort of digest it myself before I give you my opinion of it. But anyway, before we get into the actual dev update, don't forget to smash that like button, it helps out a ton, and if you're new, consider subscribing for some more Grand Cross content. But with that, yeah, let's just get into it. So basically the dev update was posted by the producer of Grand Cross, Q-P, and he writes in the 4th anniversary fest character balance adjustment information that we would like to share with you our feedback and guidance regarding the 7 Deadly Sins Transcendent Ban, which was unveiled to everyone on the occasion of the 4th anniversary in the developer notes. He writes the Ban was developed as a powerful character that changes the PvP environment, or that was the purpose of the 4th anniversary festival character. Skills and special moves have been configured with the concept of suppressing the main characters in the opponent's formation and gaining an advantage in battle. So basically he was made to sort of one-shot the enemy's strongest unit. And he continues, however, since the ability to defeat opponent's main character at the start of battle has a great advantage in turn-based combat, the hero's balance has been configured so that the risk in terms of the conditions for triggering the effect and ability to maintain the battle. So basically what they're saying is they did sort of pull back some of Ban's strength before they actually released him, just sort of balance him out so that he just doesn't one-shot the enemies. Otherwise we're just gonna end up with a situation like we did with the one Ultimate, where we used to have like 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 different like teams you could build, or variations of teams. And then once the one Ultimate came out, he basically just one-shots everyone. And it was such a nuisance. You couldn't use any other team. And then of course they released Purg Melee. They didn't hold back any punches, and Purg Melee basically made the Demon team the strongest meta team the game has ever seen, and it's still the strongest meta team. So again, they didn't want to like repeat that, so they held back the punches a bit in terms of balancing out Light Ban. He continues by saying that in the process we confirmed that the big difference in the character's win rate and how to use it depends on the player's developmental status. So basically how far along the players are in their account progression. And he continues, and for those who have not progressed significantly, we decided to use the Transcendent Ban concept. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by this. And then they basically say that it was quite difficult to use Ban on a newer, less developed account with like lower CC, or with like a 1/6 Ban with no cosmetics, I guess. And he continues, in this regard, discussions were held urgently, and as a result, the purpose of the existing meta cycle, which was initially aimed at, was not sufficiently felt by all adventurers. And I think he was sort of made to counter the sort of current meta. I think that's what they're talking about, but basically that it wasn't felt by most players that aren't, you know, Megalodon whales. And then continue, and in order to maintain the status of a festival hero, based on the characteristics and strengths of the original work, we decided to upgrade the performance of Light Ban. In order to complete the upgrade within the 4th anniversary period, when adventurers can meet or can acquire Transcendent Ban, discussions on the direction of revision and internal verification were conducted, and the existing concept of Light Ban was strengthened and some weaknesses were resolved. We plan to make corrections in the form of supplements, so basically a buff. They're talking about they want to buff Ban. Now the weaknesses that basically, like if you played him or if you've seen anyone else use him, his biggest weakness is, yeah, he's really strong as like a turn 1 unit. You just use his 2 cards, they work well together, but after that you're basically screwed. Because now you don't maybe pull both of his cards again, you maybe pull one of his cards, and it's the wrong card because you don't have the debuff card. And I'm guessing that's sort of what they're talking about when they want to address some of his weaknesses, and they're probably gonna buff him in some way. Now since day one, I've basically talked about how they could change that, you know, debuff card, maybe make it AoE, so that if you happen to draw another one of his snipe cards on the second turn, maybe you can like deal a hefty amount of damage on another unit as well. But anyway, the post continues. First of all, we plan to raise the lower limit of the damage increase value linked to the special move level, so that adventurers who are not at a high stage of growth, which was the most important problem, can experience the concept and performance of Ban. Now for this part specifically, they're talking about buffing the amount of like tech-related stats Ban gains with his ultimate at like 1/6, 2/6, 3/6 and so on. They're not gonna increase it beyond the 30% mark at 6/6, but I think they're gonna up the values of like a 1/6 to maybe 12%. The 2/6 should go from 12% to 15% and so on. I think that's what they're talking about. Maybe not exactly in those numbers, but like the lower values will be higher, and the higher values I think are gonna stay the same. And then they mentioned that the Mark of Concentration debuff, which is the debuff you apply with the debuff card, that reduces the enemy's crit chance by 100%, and if they have a Mark of Concentration, then the snipe card, because of Ban's passive, will always crit. So they say that the Mark of Concentration debuff, which is a core concept of the class, we plan to change the parts that were deleted through the snipe effect. So basically, once you actually use a snipe card, the debuff will be deleted. That is how it is now, and they are planning to actually change that so that it is not deleted. I feel like this doesn't really address the core issue though. Because basically, Ban is still gonna one-shot a unit. Like, sometimes he doesn't one-shot, of course. Maybe you're up against a Chandler turn 1 and you attack once and you attack another time. That's gonna be like 40% attack-related stats lower. Maybe that's enough to where you can't really kill him unless you've buffed up beforehand or something. In that case, it could be good, but then again, if you're facing up against a Chandler, he can just taunt up again and cleanse the debuff himself. Maybe if they made it a gray debuff or something, I don't know. But they're basically gonna make it so it doesn't go away and it's still gonna last, I believe, 2 turns. But anyway, they continue that in addition, we plan to particularly increase the survival rate of Ban so that he gets a chance to survive even in unfavorable situations. So maybe they're talking about like the HP related stats that he's gonna get from like every 7 Deadly Sins character on the field, or maybe they're just gonna give you a sort of a team-wide damage reduction taken or something. I don't know, we'll see. And then they also write regarding the formation, and they're talking about team formation here. We plan to proceed with changes in the direction that can be used with more various characters. That's from the JP translation from the Korean ones. It is regarding how to use the combination. We plan to improve it in a way that can be used with little more variety of heroes. So they're talking about him being restricted to 7 Deadly Sins characters, right? And maybe he will also get those candle buffs for the human teams, because as we saw, we all thought that Ban would be sort of a human buffer. I feel like the JP players and the KR players probably also felt that, because we did start to get like a lot of human specific buffers with Awakened Roxy, with Rudius, with Ares. And then we were gonna get a new festival unit that is a human. It's Ban, but he's not a human buffer, he's a Sins buffer. So they're basically talking about maybe making him a human buffer as well, in some way. Either just, you know, what he does with the Sins basically allows them to apply debuffs to the enemies when they attack him. Maybe humans in general will also do that. And that he also gains like the HP related stats, like 5% per Sin unit on the field. Maybe that's also gonna apply to humans, so he gets like 5% for every human on the field. And maybe there's not gonna be any overlap with like Escanor, so he's not gonna get double the buffs or whatever just because Escanor's on the field. I don't think that they're gonna go that direction, but this is actually good. They're gonna increase sort of the amount of teams that he's gonna work in. So he's not just gonna work with 7 Deadly Sins characters, but probably also human characters. Now we don't know for sure if it's gonna be human characters, but it's most likely gonna be human characters. I can't see it going any other way than that. So yeah. Anyway, he continues by saying that adjusting the balance of characters that have already been released can confuse many players and make them lose confidence in the character's performance. We continually consider the balance adjustments. But for the 4th anniversary, we have responded to the expectations of many players, and the expectation being that it is a 4th anniversary unit, it's a really hype unit, like it's a big celebration, and Ban wasn't really up to snuff, right? He didn't really perform the way most people expected him to. I still think he's not a bad unit. On my first PvP video, I basically just one-shot any one of the enemy's units first turn. Easy. On my second one, I just let Ban cook and he hits for 5, 6, 700,000 damage in ungeared. He's not a weak unit. It just takes some time to set up. But you know what? Most people think that the unit should be super strong and should basically wipe the enemy team turn 1. We should go back to like a Philo situation where if you go second, you're screwed because Philo is just gonna one-shot your entire team. Is that the sort of situation we really want to go towards? I don't know. Personally, I don't really want that, but hopefully the buffs won't make him like super broken broken, where situations like that are possible. I feel like they are conservatively buffing him. Just slight changes, just to make your play experience a little bit better by having him. But one thing I want to address here, like they're saying it as a way of trying to win goodwill with people. Like we have responded to the expectations of many players. We have decided to adjust the balance based on those expectations. That's not the reason that they're actually doing this. Like, don't get me wrong. It does align with sort of what people want, but the reason is that they're losing money on this. That's the thing. Like, you can't take a gacha gaming company and expect them that they're gonna do it out of the, you know, the good of their hearts. No, they're just doing it because Ban isn't filling up like the 5 swimming pools of cash that they want have filled up. Maybe it's just filling up 3 swimming pools, right? And I want to change this just to get more players to, you know, pay a little bit more, I think, to do an extra rotation or 2. But yeah, anyway, they've decided to do the balancing changes for the character because we want to protect the expectations of players. Yeah, sure. For the festival characters that will appear in the future. I mean, that's fair enough, I guess, because Black Clover did release on like the same day. Many people are, of course, quitting Grand Cross, moving over to sort of Black Clover. You know, they will be back. They will be back. I have no doubt. But I think that Netmarble are fearing that if people think that because Ban is weak, then the future festival units will also be weak. They won't be worth summoning for. Grand Cross is dying, maybe other games are better. I think that's a little bit what they're fearing as well. Anyway, he concludes by saying that the balance changes for Transcendent Ban is currently undergoing final testing with the goal of applying it during the maintenance on Thursday, June 8th. That is JP, and Global is gonna get it 5 days later, so on Tuesday, June 13th. And he finishes it by saying, details will be announced in the update notice. From now on, we will do our best to perform more careful and thorough testing and verification before revealing the characters. Thank you for your continued support of the 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross Battle for Light and Darkness, I guess. Yeah. My thought about this is, yeah, he's gonna get buffed. That's really good. Did he need a buff? Maybe, just a little bit. And it feels like that is where they're going. They're not gonna make him super broken, I don't think. I don't think he's gonna be the best thing since Sliced Bread or since Perg Melee. But I feel like by increasing the strength of his, 1-6, 2-6, whatever ultimate, by giving him a little bit more attack-related stats, he's of course gonna make the free-to-play players stay. I think that's their main goal there. Addressing sort of the debuff card too. Well, I don't think they're really doing it the correct way. I feel like having it be an AoE attack would have been better. But the way they're going about it can still be, well, useful in some situations. That's still more towards like lower geared players that maybe don't have Ban's cosmetics and maybe can't one-shot every single unit with him. Which again is good. Like most of the players are free-to-play players in the game. And any sort of gacha game needs a really healthy like pool of like free-to-play players, as well as like a small pool of like whales and stuff like that that are gonna keep the game afloat. But this isn't something like that's gonna satisfy the whales. It's something that's gonna satisfy the free-to-play players. The only thing that's gonna satisfy the whales is that you'll be able to use Ban in more teams than just the 7 Deadly Sins teams. So in the human teams as well. I think that's gonna satisfy everyone. And that's their goal. The goal is basically to get people to stay here. They did release the LR Meliodas, but you can't really get him for another month. And they're fearing like losing players. I'm sure they have some numbers of like how many people log in every single day, and maybe it's even dropped. I don't feel that as like a YouTuber because I just see my numbers going up currently because it's a huge, 4th anniversary festival going on. It's a big event for the game. Many people are like returning to the game. But Netmarble obviously has some different numbers that they're going with, and yeah, I think they know what they're doing in that regard, even though I do tend to joke that whenever they're releasing a new unit, they basically just pull abilities out of a hat, like, oh, this character is gonna have Infect and a single target pierce. Basically that. And you have Rimuru, right? But at least for Ban, I guess they did sort of think about his abilities a little bit. Maybe they had the abilities be AoE, but they turned out to be way too powerful. Like, they kind of do look like AoE abilities. Like, the width of, like, the attacks that he does are really wide. So maybe they were AoE abilities at first, but they tested it and like, yeah, we can't really have a unit that one-shots everyone like we had with Philo. Like, we have to tone it down, and they just made it 2 single target attacks. And that's not really good enough for a festival unit. Which is still why I think a AoE debuff card followed by, like, a single target really strong snipe card would have been better, but yeah, that's just me. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you think these buffs are gonna revive like your faith in the unit or whatever? I know a lot of people thought it was like the weakest released unit or something. I personally didn't feel like that. He has done quite well in PvP. Again, it's not like the one ultimate or Perg Melee. Yeah, but we really shouldn't have those types of units. Honestly, they should just nerf the Perg Melee and the one. But they're not gonna do that because people would revolt. So they have to buff Ban. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's gonna be it for me. Hope you liked the video. Again, let me know what you think about the changes. And yeah, hope you have a most wonderful rest of your day. And I guess I catch you in the next one. Bye.